But today I'm going to show you how to do binding on a guitar body. The most important thing you can do when you do binding is to actually get the right bit and the right bearings with the right binding size. Usually that involves buying all of that same product from the same retailer. So StewMac sells the binding bits. They also sell a variety of different size of binding, you know, from a Les Paul to just a regular size to real thin pieces if you want to do multi-laminate pieces. I'm pretty simple with binding. I like to just do a simple bind, you know, one color. I've done multiple colors, multiple laminates. That requires, you know, using a bunch of different bearings with the right size to get the right look and the right route. So you would route deeper on the top here and then deeper on the bottom if you're doing multiple levels. For this one today, I'm going to do just a simple black bind. This binding isn't actually from StewMac, it's from eBay, and it doesn't fit exactly perfectly when I try and match this up. So what I'm going to do is go with a little bit of a thicker bit, so that way I've got a little bit more stock that I would need to scrape off here. I'm going to take this to my pin router, route this out on each side, and I'll come back and glue this, and then I'll scrape it off. But binding is somewhat simple if you've got the router bit and a pin router or a table router where you actually can do this with a flat level surface. Easy to do on a flat top guitar, much harder to do with a Les Paul or an acoustic because you actually need to have that guitar body level. Alright, so now I've got my Stanley pin router all set up. This is an old overarm pin router, and I've got my bearing bit in here. I've leveled out the bit with the height of the binding, and what I'll do is I'll just slowly go around here and actually route all of this out, going slow to make sure I'm not getting any tear out. This bit is also relatively new, so I know it's sharp. It's really important when you're using figured wood that you've got the sharp bit. Now this has a slight shear cut to it, so it doesn't tear out as much as a flat bit, but you always want to use a sharp bit. So we're all set here. We're going to go flip the router on and route. So now the next step here in binding is actually take the glue, the binding, and the tape here and start running it along the edge. Glue, hold, tape, glue, hold, tape, glue, hold, tape. Pretty simple. Takes about a half hour usually, maybe a little bit less. You know, what I like to do is test fit everything before I go, see where my hard spots are going to be. I know this corner will be a little bit rough, so I want to make sure that this is really sitting before I decide to make this bend. I know this curve up here will take a little bit longer as well. I may actually heat bend it, and then this curve going in will be a little bit difficult as well. So what I'll do is I'll work through the easy spots first. You know, I'll do a cut here and then restart, and I'll probably do a cut here and restart as well. You know, want to make sure the curves look good, but really all you're doing is you're taking the glue, running it here on the inside of the channel, make sure it's covered. You don't want it too much so it spills out everywhere. Take the binding, place it in, take your blue tape that you've got lined up, and begin to just push it in. What I do with the tape is I push down and pull across, so I know I've got the right fit. Push it down and then I pull. You just keep going along these curves here, going down. So this is what one side will look like when you're done. What you want to do is let this sit for about 24 hours before you pull the tape off. That way you know you've got a really strong bond. Alright, here's the last little piece. This is all glued in. It's been sitting for 24 hours. What I did is I bent this and let it sit for about 6-8 hours. So now I don't need really a whole lot of clamping pressure. Got my tape all set up here. I'll just run a bead of glue and glue it in. Alright, next thing we're going to do after the binding's all tape is we're going to get a scraper. We're just going to scrape where the binding is thick on the top so that you get it level. It's actually really easy to do. And you're just looking to get the binding flush with the top. Just keep scraping till it's flusher. So now we're flush. Just keep going down the line. And wherever got any glue marks, there's a little bit of binding glue. We'll just scrape that out as well. So with the binding on the side, same thing. It's a tad thick. Just gonna get the scraper and scrape off. You'll get these nice thick shavings. You just go through and scrape till it's flush. Alright, so here we're all binded, cleaned up. I sanded with 220 as well to just clean up the top where there was any glue marks left on the wood. This is all set to finish. We'll go do another video here. I'm going to put a red burst out there on this one next.